Hello, hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another podcast version. I don't know what I want to call these. I was calling them Tallulah Talks for the longest time. And welcome to the new people. Those of you who don't know me, I am Tallulah Kelly, Lula Kelly. This is Lula's Life. And I have another channel called The Magical Medium, where, as it says in the title, I am magical and I'm a medium and I give free readings. I love when I look down, it was 31 seconds, because that's 13 backwards. And we are so in the energy of the divine goddess right now. I just wanted to talk to you guys. Hold on, I want to put my phone in airplane mode because I don't want something to accidentally play, because there's so many things like rights and all that. Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you guys about truly living your best life and what that means and what that looks like to you. Drink some water if you have some. I'm always promoting to drink water because it's so good for us, and we are made up of mostly water. And our body needs to be replenished with water. I know people say, oh, there's water in soup, or there's water in, a soda pop or whatever. And I'm like, that's true. But it's also been, there's a lot of other things in there as well. So, and by the time it gets to you, the water's so kind of messed up and broken down, it's not really the replenishing water that you need. So I digress. I'm having so many thoughts. First and foremost, I am having a blast really working on myself and working on my home and taking so much time to myself. I know there are so many of you who have reached out to me. I don't know when I'm going to respond. I'm just really, I'm really enjoying this time. It's been very rare in my life that I've had this much time to myself, where I wasn't leading with some type of guilt or shame for feeling or, being called selfish. Just so many things. And what really helps me to stay in a high vibration is the things that I love. And I was having the best night. It's Saturday night, in real time. It's the 28th, and I am just having such a good time by myself. And interestingly enough, I wasn't going to be able to get to the store for a few days, and I was really craving something sweet. And I've been getting these things from Spirit where, all my life I've tried to do these all or nothing diets. Just eat super healthy, and once in a while, maybe at a wedding or a special occasion, I have a piece of cake or something like that. But other than that, as a dear old friend used to say, it's black boxed. It doesn't exist. And that worked for me for a long time, or so I thought. But, one of my greatest addictions is food, because food has become such an important part of my life. And on both sides of my family, we were foodies. And then also, when I was raising myself and alone for many, many years, food became my friend. And then alcohol became my friend, and cigarettes became my friend, and cannabis became my friend, and all of these, things became my friends. And I love food. I love making food. I love learning new recipes. I love watching what people do and put things together. And so today I was having this really great moment, because when I went shopping, I was surprised at some of the things that Spirit was like, yeah, I get that, or yeah, that's good. And I was like, I thought I was trying to stay away from, sweets, or I thought I was trying to stay away from those kind of carbs. And, and then all of a sudden it was funny, because the week before that, I ate super low calorie, I just wanted to feel lighter and cleaner in my body, so I didn't eat that much, and I felt amazing. I really did. But I also was getting really thin really fast just because of my frame. Um, if I lose 5 pounds in a week, you can really see it. I'm 5'2 3/4" the last time I was measured, and I haven't weighed myself in many moons, but I'd say I'm probably somewhere around 130, maybe 125. And so to lose 5 pounds, I can start to see it, but I I ideally love to be like 115, but that's not super healthy. 125, 130 is actually super healthy for me. It's just staying in shape that, I have to work a little bit harder. Living off grid because I'm constantly, boiling water and getting water from outside and going, and I had my kitchen outside for the summer. And now, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing some remodeling. And bringing the kitchen back in, bringing the sink back in. But it's actually been really good because I have to go in and out all day long, and so it's been a great workout. But I can tell I was losing weight too fast. So Spirit was like, no, you need to have more carbs, you need to have more of this, you need to have more of that. And I've been doing pendulum eating, which really helps me when I'm trying to figure out. I know some people are like, why don't you do muscle testing? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it to people, but it just doesn't work for me, at least right now. I mean, I've tried many different times, many different ways. I can do it for other people. It's so bizarre. In fact, I worked at a holistic vet where I was like, I touched the animal and put my arm out, and then the vet would, I was like the go-between. I had no idea then what I was doing. Now I realized what was happening. I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. So I'm good for that, but for myself, for some reason, it's just the way that I'm wired. Right now, like I said, I don't know, it may change at some point, but it has been for the last almost decade. So with that being said, when I say pendulum eating, I will, I go to the store, and lately the way it's been going is it'll go for about 10 days. And during that time, I will go through all the food. And I'm one of those people that I have to take everything out of the packages. I like to put things in glass or like treated Tupperware, things like that. I don't like plastics or in fact, I feel very blessed. I live in a area where we have an amazing co-op. You should look in your local area and see if you have a co-op, or at least somewhere where, they get everything in bulk. And every co-op's different, but this particular co-op, I love it. It has the biggest bulk food section. Like, I've seen some pretty big ones, but this one is really lovely. It's for me anyway. It's like everything I could ever want, from teas to spices to. They even have Elizabeth's granola. If you know who she is, I love her granola. Everything is coconut. Coconut works really good for my body, so it's coconut sugar and, you know, I forget all the other stuff, but there's a lot of, and it's ancient grain, which I love on my particular body. Drink some water. My blood is A positive, and so, for whatever reason, my body loves vegan. Just loves it, loves it, loves it. And I don't know if it's true about the blood type diet, but when I studied it, I was like, that's really wild, because that's like all my, that's what I love, or that's what I don't always love, but I know my body loves. Because there's definitely days where I don't want to eat sauerkraut. I'm just not, and then there's other days I'm like, I want sauerkraut. I love it, And it's funny, I come by it naturally. Oh, that was my nails on there, by the way. I always joke and say, if I'm going to fart or burp or something, I'll let you know. Or actually, I'd probably just pause it. But anyway, no, honestly, both sides of my family, we have a lot of German and Polish. So a lot of the fermented foods, I'm really drawn to. And honestly, I don't even know if that's a cultural just for us, because I find through a lot of different cultures, they have different forms of it, different forms of kraut or fermented foods, There's also what they call the biblical diet, I think it's called, or something like that, where it's like how they used to eat, like, and how they say like they live longer. Same with the Asian cultures. You know, it's different all around. I mean, Japanese derive from Chinese, and I mean they all. It's like who really? It's like the chicken and the egg, but you know what I'm saying? In like those areas, it's like I don't know really. You know, especially with the Matrix and the programming, it's like I don't really know. I mean, I could tell you what I've read in books. I could tell you what I've studied, but it's like who knows anymore. But I will just say that when I studied the Asian culture, I was just in awe of it. And I really, it makes me sad. I found out recently, I feel really dumb for not understanding this, but I didn't realize that Tibet was not this like golden, shiny place that I keep thinking is in my mind exists. And it made me think that that's something that I would really like before I die, to bring that back to the way it was, where it was a holy place and a place for higher learning and wisdom and teachings and living simply. um, I have just found in my life that it really was the Buddhist culture and the Tibetan culture, and actually the Indian culture as well, that really really changed me. You know, growing up in the south, I say the south side of Chicago because it was, but mostly the south suburbs. Growing up there, and everything, you know, we before, especially like as a child in the 70s, it was very segregated. It was very ethnic based and very segregated, and I could tell you some really wild stories. But I felt really blessed that I was, you know, I was given so many different foods, so many different cultures of food from, I mean, honestly, all different backgrounds, and really good food, you know, like really homemade. And then when things, I remember the first time, I said this to someone recently, I remember the first time I saw a black and white box in the grocery store that said generic. And I was like, what the fuck is that? It looked like a food was in prison. Like all the other foods like had interesting labels or the name in nice writing, you know, colorful, you know, whatever. And then it was just like, bam. And I remember like, even then they started the Great Divide, where you don't want to be poor because you don't want to be the person in the grocery store that everybody's whispering, oh my gosh, look at their cart, look at how many generic things they have in there, they must be poor. Like, how fucked up is that? How fucked up is that? That's so weird. I mean, I witnessed so many weird fucking absurdities growing up as a child that I was calling bullshit left and right, and everybody thought I was crazy, and I was like, no, you're the fucking crazy ones. That's weird, man. Like, why? So much shame around, like, you know, money and food and who has what and who had keeping up with the Joneses. It was more of the bullshit. It's more of the bullshit, but everybody's seeing through it, and those who don't see through it are being praised for being ignorant and uneducated to it. And because they weren't praised, or because they, I mean, I can tell you, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, you know, it's interesting. The Pleiadians have been coming to me through all different forms and devices, and so many energies from the outer universe, the inner universe, like everything. It's been so crazy how things are unwinding and then falling together, and like it's just so beautiful. It's like watching a symphony play out. If you really sit back and watch everything, it's really beautiful. And it's something like, you know, you couldn't have planned it better yourselves. I mean, honestly, what really started this whole thing to talk to you guys was the Hunger Games, how it's been coming to me so much. It's been coming to me so much in such different ways. And again, the absurdity of it. That's why the books were written. That's why the movies were brought to us, so we could see the visual of it. And that's why people are putting it out there. They're like, dude, we are in the fucking Hunger Games. And they're showing, you know, the Met Gala and all these things. And I'm like, holy shit, they're right. I'm like, they're totally right. The only difference is that in the Hunger Games, it's on this like really like high fucking scale of like, holy shit. The same with like the Handmaiden's Tale or the Handwives. Oh shit, I can I think of it? It'll come to me. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Right? It's because we needed to see those things. Those things needed to be put out there to be like, listen, do you not fucking see what's happening? While you're over here playing with this little fucking device that they gave you that you think is the holy grail, they're doing all these underhanded, fucked up shit, and you're going, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's just Trump. That's just what he's doing again. Oh, he's so crazy. Instead of being like, are you fucking nuts? Like, what is going on? In what universe do you want a president that doesn't give a fuck about whether or not everyone is being fed? He's more worried about these stupid things, and he keeps feeding the things that he keeps riling up the hate and riling up the, throwing the generic boxes in the fucking carts. It's like trying to get people to be like, you want to be like us, be like, look at us, and we're corporate and blah blah. And it's like, no, dude, no. No. I want to live free. I want to make food. I almost threw out this jar of applesauce because I'm like, man, that's been sitting in the refrigerator since like fucking May. And I was like, and he hasn't even touched it. And I almost threw it away because when I took it off, there was like 3 dots of mold in the cap. But when I looked inside, it was 3/4 full. And because it's organic, I was like, oh man, fuck. I'm like, I'm sure this, I thought for sure it was going to be a petri dish, but it wasn't. And then I just got the vibe to scoop out like, the top like inch, right? Because it had kind of permeated a little bit and started getting a little moldy or whatever. But there was nothing wrong with it. It was like, and I did it so carefully with the spoon and like used paper towels, like, just so that I wouldn't, if there were any spores or whatever. I mean, and even so, it wasn't going to kill us, right? And the greatest part about it is because I'm going to use it to bake with. And it's a shame to throw it away. And so I put together this awesome, the rest of this cinnamon applesauce, and then more cinnamon, some coconut sugar, some oil, and I'm letting that, I stirred that all together, and then I'm going to throw in some chia seeds and some ancient grains and oats, and I'm going to make a delicious baked apple fritter. But the way I was raised and the bullshit that I was around and the people that I was around and the fakery and the fuckery would have told me to throw that away because they're like, oh, it's moldy, that's gross, like throw that away. Where my parents were always like, save it, save it, save it. And I was like, throw it away. I mean, there was a time, now that all of our parents have crossed over, one of my favorite times ever with my siblings was when I was living in Los Angeles with my first husband, and we came home for the summer. I don't remember if it was for a wedding reception or we were just home to visit. I don't remember. But anyway, we were at my mother's beautiful Victorian mansion. It was like 130 years old. It was like everything was like handcrafted. It was so magical. I loved her house and her wraparound porch. And so my siblings and our spouses and children and my mom and my stepdad, we had this beautiful meal together outside. But we used to laugh because they never threw anything away. My mom and my stepdad, like, they were so bad. They were such hoarders. But they weren't like outward hoarders. They like, their home was beautiful. It was clean, but they were hoarders of shit like that. Where like the whole fucking door of the refrigerator is like condiments, you raise your hand if you're at that house, feel free to comment below, But I just remember there was this really great moment where we started playing this game where when our parents were there, we would be wherever you sat, like you didn't have, a lot of times you already pick your seat and then they start bringing shit out. Or they'd be like, who wants what dressing or whatever? And sure enough, it'd be like, oh, just bring them all out or whatever. I'm not sure exactly, I'm paraphrasing. But anyway, whatever was sat down in front of you, whoever had the oldest one won the game. And so, and it was always like, kind of like, oh no, I have you beat. Mine's 12 years old, just in looking back on it, those are the memories that I will cherish forever. Like, I'm sad that my mom passed, but ever since my mother passed, it's like now I've been saying this, but it's so fucking true. If you've ever watched the movie Scrooged, at the end when the angels and all the people who died are there together, all of their ancestors and like, all the ghosts of, Christmas past and future and all that and present. And they're all together and like kind of singing. That's how it is for me. Like, it's so fucking fun. Like, when I was making that, or whenever I'm cooking or baking, a lot of times my family comes in and it's like the most awesome thing. And I will definitely like search my ancestry at some point because I've got to know. And I feel like my grandmother would have loved that. Like, I feel like she would have absolutely done that if she was still alive. I think she would have, although I talk to her now all the time, so who knows. But I feel like, because she was fascinated, a lot of my family were fascinated with that stuff. Kind of surprised nobody ever did it. But anyway, it was just so fun. It was just so funny. But there, some of them were good still, and they were right. And some of them were like a petri dish and we're like, just, we'd be like, just throw it away, and they'd be like, no, they're going to yell at me. And I'm like, give it to me. And I'd be like, I'll fucking throw it away. And if they're like, who threw it away? I'm like, I did, because it was like mold. They're like, we could have got that out. I'm like, oh, no, just sometimes you just got to throw shit away. Um, anyway, but I've been having all these great memories, and I've been playing Christmas music and hanging out with the ancestors. And as we're ending September and rolling into one of my favorite months of all time, October and December will always be, because of October and my witchy heritage, Samhain, Dios de los Muertos, like the whole thing, the whole ancestors, the veil, that, and then of course in December, I have my birthday and of course Christmas. And I think of Christmas as an international holiday. I don't feel like it is surrounded by religion. I think that it's just another thing that the Christians, stole from the pagans, when it was like, it was just a ritual to celebrate the earth and the passing of the torch and the, you know what I mean? Like solstice and all those things. I mean, December is so magical for me in a gazillion different ways, especially because the 12/12 portal is the last portal of the Gregorian calendar year, and it's the day before my birthday. So it's always really special. And this year, my birthday's so special because my birthday's on Friday the 13th. It hasn't been in so long. Of course, we know, right? Because it takes a while to move around and leap year and all that. So it's been a minute. And I'm very, 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 very excited for this one for so many reasons, But I've just been in my happy place. I've been doing what makes me feel good, what makes me feel happy, and being in gratitude for my home. And it's not perfect, but it's mine. And it was interesting because recently I said to Alder, I said, do you want to move back in, or do you? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay. So we're really taking it like day by day, week by week, and just seeing how it's going to go. But I'm excited because we're doing, I don't know what videos I've spoke about it in other videos, but I don't know when and if they'll ever have me, put them out. But yeah, I'm just super excited to see what happens. And I want you to do your best to stay in a high vibration and do something that makes you feel really good. And if you want your own place, put an ad out there. Make a little card, put it up at your co-op, put it at your library, or in a place that you feel good, a town that you love, a place that you want to live. Put an ad out there and say, I only have X amount of dollars, willing to trade, extra rent for chores, walking your dog, cooking, baking. Like, what do you love to do? What's your passion? I see, because of where I live, it's a very wealthy area, but it's also a huge retirement area because of that factor. And I am telling you, I see ads all the time, all over town. I live in a really cute town, all over town, and in the local town paper, in Craigslist in this area. I see ads all the time that are work trades to help with elderly. Some just want a companion. Some just don't want to live in a home, but their kids live far away, or they don't have kids and they can take care of themselves. But, it'd be nice to have somebody who cleans and cooks once in a while, does the errands so they don't have to, on the cold days. You would be surprised. Write an ad. put yourself out there 100% and say, this is who I am, and don't be afraid to put it out there, you know. I have put out ads where I'm like, we are spiritual, vegan. If it's a farm, it must be a no-kill farm. I cannot tell you how many people have responded to the ads when I put them out. That's when I knew, because this last work trade was like, it was seriously like a dream offer, a dream job for me in another time. But now it's like I'm meant to be here and focus on the things I need to focus on. Just like Alder needs to be where he needs to be and focus on what he needs to focus on. And I just want you to look at the world through different eyes. Look at it through the eyes of the Hunger Games. Do we want it to go to that extreme? Of course we don't. Why do you think people are like revering Kamala? I mean, people are doing everything but like putting her on their shoulders and walking her around the fucking, football field after the game. She's the coach. Because we need that coach. We need a good coach. We need a good leader. We need somebody who gives a shit about us, like genuinely gives a shit about us. Not just says they give a shit about us, but really don't give a shit about us, because I'm telling you something, that's scary. That is. And they've been getting away with it for so long, and now they're starting to see the guillotines are dropping. They are dropping everywhere. I have been seeing so many things that are saying things like, you've been kept hidden for a reason, like I've been seeing the chosen one stuff forever, but like honestly, I feel like when they say that, it's like it brings another form of hierarchy that I don't want to flip it like that, right? Like we don't want to be like insurgent or divergent, or which ones I'm talking about with Shailene Woodley. Like we don't want it to go that way either, right? Where it's like, oh, you're gonna be this, and hey, we want everything to be good and perfect. It's like, no, that doesn't fucking work either. Like it's not reality. The reality is the balance. The reality is some people really love to clean. There's no shame in it. They love it. They love it. Some people really love to work on people with knives and string and heal them and open their bodies and do surgeries and close them up. Hey man, I'm not going to tell them that that's not their God-given talent. Like, you know what I mean? I believe we can each heal ourselves, which is another frightening thing for the medical, because so much of our socialism everywhere in the planet is healthcare. And let's be honest, healthcare should just be free. Like, in terms of like, if we're going to have taxes for this and taxes for that, and you're going to approve this and you're going to approve that, but you're not going to approve to make sure that everybody finds the health care they need. Some people, look at the way people have been like jumping all over Elle Macpherson. Leave her alone. There are a lot of people, myself included. I healed myself. I was at death's fucking door. And one of my doctors admitted it to me. She admitted it to me. She even said, if you tell them blah blah blah, I'll tell them that, whatever. Like, but she said, I believe you. I believe you can heal yourself. She's like, I totally believe you can, because I like raked my doctors over the coals for the disgusting food that was brought to my room. I'd never stayed in a hospital before. And in my 40s, for the first time, I was in the hospital. I almost died. And it was scary. It was one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me in my entire life. And I really, really thought I was going to die. And the interesting thing was, I was freaking out at first, but once I calmed down and, got on some heavy medicine, like I needed that, because I did not know what was happening to me. I did not understand what was going on. And I believe with everything I am, I had pancreatitis, but they couldn't tell me legally that I had pancreatitis. They could only tell me that that was what their diagnosis, that was what was the closest to it. When I did all the research, I was like, it was like a no-brainer. Everything. I was like a textbook pancreatitis. And so it was a very interesting experience. Even with that, my doctors were like, talking at this decibel, and then when they started to ask me questions and were saying we think it's pancreatitis, they're like, so are you a heavy drinker, or like, do you drink a lot? It was like, and it made me think of St. Elmo's Fire when they go to, I can't remember their names now, but when they go, I'll just say the rich girl because that's how they categorized it. What they, the rich girl, they went to her house, for dinner with Rob Lowe's character, and why can't I think of her name? She's such a powerful actress. Anyway, I love her. I'm sorry I can't think of her name right now, but they're at a dinner party. She invites him to the dinner party, and he gets drunk. And long story short, before the dinner party, she says, just to let you know, she's like, if there's something that my mother deems inappropriate or possibly uncomfortable for other people, I'm paraphrasing, right? She goes, she whispers it. And he's like, oh, okay. She's like, so I just want to let you know that, and so they're talking, it's a dinner party's going on and everything, and the mother's like, oh, so hey, did I tell you guys I ran into Sheila's mother? And they're like, oh, no, they're like, how's she doing? And she's like, cancer. Like, she whispers cancer. And so, and then you see Rob Lowe and the girl look at each other, and they kind of like laugh, and then she's talking about something else and she whispers again. And so the mom's like, so where did you guys meet? And he's like, prison. He like whispers prison, and it's kind of funny, right? Because it's like, because some people just, the unmentionables, like things you don't want to talk about. And that's the kind of world that I grew up in too. That's why the 80s are coming back. Why do you think like people like Chappell Rowan? I mean, I love how like the music had gotten so bad that I just stopped listening to it. Everything was so fake and awful, and like I no offense to like, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I stopped listening to more modern music probably, I don't know, 3 or 4, I don't know how many years ago, but anyway. Then Taylor came into my orbit, and of course, it was a no-brainer. We had the same birthday. It didn't take me long to become a Swiftie, and I didn't even realize I was a Swiftie until I saw some like shorts thing where it was like 16 things, if you're a Swiftie, facts about her or whatever. And I was like, holy shit, I'm a Swiftie. But I'm not a Swiftie I couldn't tell you every album in order, the names and the songs and the albums. Like, I love her music. I love, I don't own any of her albums, so technically I guess I wouldn't be a Swiftie. But I love her, and I think she is a gift. I really do think she's a gift from the goddess. Just like Travis is a gift from God. I mean, honestly, if you look at them, they are like a god and a goddess. Even with their height and everything. I mean, there's just so much of like this like fantasia that we were told isn't true. It's really happening right in front of us. Like, everything is happening right in front of us. Like, I've been joking saying like I'm just waiting for like something where somebody really pulls like an alien mask off, like in a Twilight Zone episode or something, you know what I mean, or like a movie, because I mean, nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me. I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome. I know that Earth is here for such a beautiful purpose, and the universe is ruled with love. So I don't have any fear. I'm not afraid to die. I know that I'll just go somewhere else, or I'll go right into another body, or whatever's meant to be. Like I feel that. I know that. I've had sometimes when I'm astral traveling, I can tell I'm stepping in to another person's body while they're checked out for a while. Sometimes it'll feel like I'm in the dream for like days or like weeks or months. And quite honestly, I probably am. But then I wake up after 6 hours, in this human avatar, in this universe, this world, whatever, this dimension. And, it's like, oh, I mean, sometimes I'm like trying to pull them. I'm trying to remember it. Like, as I'm waking up, I'm trying to drag them back into the state. Sometimes Spirit has me get so high before I go to bed because they're like, I'm not supposed to remember things, or I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what's supposed to happen. But now I don't fight things as much anymore. Now I really listen and go with the flow. And quite truthfully, I'm so much happier. I'm so much more that version of myself, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I've been feeling very strong in myself and my purpose and my love for self and music. Like, I just love music so much. Like, it's just such a part of me. Um, and I'm understanding too, like, why I was meant to live in Los Angeles at the time that I did, and all the reasons that I met all those people in those situations. And sometimes I'll be watching an interview with like a celebrity that I met or spent time with. You know, there were some places I worked, I waited on the same people all the time. They asked for me, which, oh my gosh, speaking of food, I have to tell you guys, I had a fucking weird moment the other day. You may have remembered that in one of my past, episodes of whatever, that I spoke of that I had a really close, it didn't last long, but it was a very close and very cherished relationship with Albert Finney, the incredible, beautiful soul actor, thespian, old school, beautiful. I mean, I remember one night that we were talking and he said something about a conversation he had with Audrey Hepburn. And I looked at him and I go, "You knew Audrey Hepburn?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, I forget which movie, Roman Holiday. No, I think that was Cary Grant, but he made a movie with her. And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I go, "That was you?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "That's awesome." Because when I knew him, it was when he was literally filming Erin Brockovich with Julia Roberts. So it was a very different experience. So most recently, in this last year, I was going down memory lane with Annie because it came into my orbit, um, and I didn't really watch the movie so much as I was really into the music and singing and recording myself and having, these moments with my childhood and remembering seeing that at the theater. That was a big deal for me. One of my things I used to love to do for my birthday was to go see a movie with, I wanted to go to dinner and a movie with my mom and my dad. Just me, my mom, because it's like, I know this sounds weird, but there were times that I wish that it was just me, my mom, and my dad, and I didn't care about my brother and sister. I was the youngest. I know that sounds awful, but I was very bullied. I was treated well in a lot of ways by my siblings, but also I was also very bullied in other ways that I don't even think they realized how much it affected me and like molded me and terrorized me, and how much I've been working through. I'm sure I did that to them too, but just for my own personal experience and my own memories and the way it was happening to me at the time, I just had this like, you know, these moments, where I just really wished, because my father drank a lot and he was gone a lot. If he wasn't working, he was at the bar, or he was working and then at the bar. And so, I cherished the few moments that I ever had with my mom and dad when it was just me and my mom and dad. So I remember going to see that with them on my birthday. I went and saw Popeye with them for my birthday one year. And then I think it was like one year was that. And then I think the next year was Annie. And it was just really special for me. It was very special for me. It's like, let's put it this way, if my siblings were there, it's like they weren't there. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, I was in my maybe far away, right? And maybe real nearby. Like, I was in my own little world. So recently, Annie was free on YouTube again, and it kept coming into my orbit. And I'm like, "Do you want me to watch this?" I'm like, "I've seen it like a gazillion times." And they're like, yeah. And I started watching it and it didn't fucking click for me until I saw the beginning, and I'm watching it and I see fucking Albert Finney as Daddy Warbucks. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, how did we not have one conversation about him being Daddy Warbucks? How did we not? I was like, what? I mean, it just like, I felt like such, I was like, I laughed, but I also was like, what a missed fucking opportunity. I'm like, what a missed opportunity. That kind of sucks. I'm like, that kind of sucks. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm like, whatever, I mean, it's no big deal, like, whatever. But there was a moment where I thought, like, how interesting. And then, like, not even 2 minutes later, I saw the picture of the actress who plays, I can't think of her name, but his secretary. And then I went, holy fucking shit. I was like, I met her too. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that. I met her when my roommate, when I lived in LA, my roommate was also the manager of the Sunset Plaza apartments. So sometimes I would go and visit her at work. And one time I was there, I met Pamela Anderson, and she stopped by and she was like, hey, don't forget, this is when her and Tommy Lee still lived there, before they had the house, before they had their kids. And she said, she like said to my roommate, she was like, hey, she's like, don't forget I'm having my little sale, blah, blah, blah. And she was so cute and she was so real. And of course, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% positive she's from Illinois like I am, because I think that's how we bonded. It was either over being both from Midwest, but I think it was both being from Illinois. But anyway, long story short, that was like the beginning of like me knowing Pam. Like, she's another one that I'm like, someday I feel like we'll like see each other again, and I'll be like, dude, do you remember me? Because at least 4 times we met, like after the like four, and over years. Like, I lived in LA for like 8.5 years, like total. And like, I met her right when I moved there, and then like, you know went to her sale. I bought her fucking cowboy boots for $50, and she was so cute. She's like, those are like $300. Those are like Tony. She's like, those are Tony Llamas. Like, she was so cute. They were so hot. They were white. They were white leather, white hot cowboy boots. They became like my staple. And when people be like, I love your boots, I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like, they were Pamela Anderson's. Like, I bought them at her apartment sale or whatever, and it was just like, it was like our community. It was like no big deal. And I think her name was Anne Ranking, and then who played the secretary from Annie. So I was there and talking to her, and she came in. She was her neighbor, and they were friends, and she came in, and it was just like the craziest, like most normal, natural, like it was so, So I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? As a child, little did I know that I would someday wait on Daddy Warbucks and like wear or meet and get to know the secretary actress lady, So you just never know like what life is going to bring you or what's going to happen, or and I know with everything I am that I would have ended up in the 27 Club if I did not like take the path that I took. If I had kept auditioning and, got on coke and drinking and partying and got real thin, because I was in the Kate Moss waif era, so it was really fucking hard for me to get roles, and it was a very interesting experience, and it kind of like starved the life out of me, and it made me not want to act anymore. It made me not want to sing anymore. I was constantly judged. I was constantly, the gross way that I was touched, talked to, approached, they're not kidding. I mean, I can only imagine the casting couches that the other starlets, especially in the early days, like had to go through. It sickens me. It makes me sick to my stomach. And that's why there are so many champions for us now out there that are saying like, no. I mean, when I don't know, Chappell Rowan just came into my orbit, and I know I was starting to talk about Taylor and Olivia Rodrigo, and I could go on and on and on, because there's so many awesome, Kim Petras, it's like there are a lot of interesting, awesome artists up and coming that are changing the world, that are changing the dynamic. And we do need to take it one step, one breath, one person, one soul at a time. These elections are really important because we're noticing that, yes, we do have a voice. Yes, you know what? If you cheat, we're going to catch you. We're going to catch you cheating. I almost feel like everybody knew like that. I mean, some people are like, I really think Donald Trump won that year. They're like, everybody was like, no way, they weren't voting for Hillary. And I was like, yeah, but I also think it was meant to be. Like, I really genuinely believe, like, even if it was rigged, like, we all had to see that. And over the last 8 years, like, we've had to, like, see all the ugliness of humanity, but also the beauty of humanity, and people coming out saying, like, what the fuck? Like, this is not cool. This is not wrong. Do you not see the Hunger Games? Like, this is not a fucking joke. This is very serious. There are people starving, and there are people who have more money and are spending money. I'm not saying that people don't deserve to have a nice boat or deserve to have their own airplane or whatever. But if we're going to do these kind of things, then we need to do them in a way that makes sense for everybody, you know? And maybe we do have like smaller, more efficient planes, you know, airplanes where it's like there are, you know, only 20 to 30 people per plane, and not make it such an astronomical thing, you know, but maybe the airplanes like have some type of, you know, or hovercrafts or, you know, something, but just something where it's like, I get that because I am such a sensitive. You know, like, can you imagine if you had flights that were only for empaths? Like, we would totally get it. Like, you're not allowed to have perfumes. You know, I was on a flight one time, and I'm just gonna say this, and I know that this is like, people be like, oh, I thought you're spiritual, not PC, but I'm gonna just say it and keep it real because the South Side of Chicago and me is always gonna keep it real. But this bitch next to me fucking pulled her perfume out, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, can you wait until you get off the plane? I'm like, because I have very severe allergies, and I'm like, I have barely been able to like make it through this flight smelling your perfume. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, can you please like spray it when you know, get outside? And she just like kind of looked at me, and she was like, she kind of gave me a side eye, and she gave herself a little spray like on her. And I'm like, it took everything out of me not to be like, hold my fucking purse. Like, you know, because I wanted to be like, what is wrong with you? Like, I just told you I'm allergic to it. But there are some people who don't understand because they are not, they're still in this, like, they're not connected to that sensitive side, or there are seriously beings here that don't, they just aren't affected by that. You know, they can, it's like, I know this is going to sound really harsh, but I'm just going to say it. It's kind of like a cockroach, you know, like they've done all these studies and they're like, what the fuck are cockroaches made out of, man? Like, they can still live through like the worst conditions, through the worst sounds, the worst smells, the worst, you know, whatever. They're like, they're still here. And there are some people that just, it does not bother them. It does not affect them. But someone like myself, it makes me sick. It gives me a headache. It makes me want to throw up. I feel like my equilibrium is off. I feel like I mean, you know, just like boats. I went on a cruise and I was pretty much drunk the whole time, but I was like drunk and I was on between Dramamine and alcohol. I barely remember the cruise because I had to be almost wasted the whole time just so that I can enjoy it, because I didn't want to ruin it for my friend, and I really wanted to go. And it was amazing, and I'll never ever regret going, you know. Especially because back then we got the most amazing local ganja from the Bahamas. And, you know, they didn't check us for joints or anything like that, you know. It wasn't like that back then. So my friend and I, like, we would just go on the ship. Like, we'd go to the end, like, especially really late at night when no one was around, because you could still smoke. I don't know if you can smoke on cruise ships now, but back then you can smoke outside, and they had smoking sections. And so they didn't know what the fuck we were smoking, you know, and nobody bothered us. So, like, we were smoking weed on the cruise. It was awesome. But I could have never gotten through that without cannabis. One time I went to visit my friends in LA, and I was like, I told them, I'm like, please get this for me. I will, if not, I know people, you know, I'll just ship it to you, you know. And they were like so scared and so afraid. And my one friend, he would move hell and high water to get weed when he really needed it. But I asked him to get it for me, and he didn't. And he was like, you're acting kind of crazy about it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, and it was like, I had to stay drunk pretty much the whole time I was there because the energy was so intense everywhere. Because I hadn't been back to LA in so long, and I was just waking up and waking up. And the more I woke up, the more sensitive I became. And I realized that my whole life I was like this, but I was just dulling the pain with alcohol and dulling the pain with food and weed and just anything I could do to dull the pain. I was dulling the pain. And so, when I started watching this stuff on Chapel Row, and when I saw that Elton John reached out to her and I saw that she's 26, I was like, oh, thank goddess. Because as amazing and intelligent and so graphically, unapologetically cool she is and real she is, she's also a sensitive light being. I mean, she's, you can see how many angels and light workers and spiritual warriors and gods and goddesses are present here right now. But some of them have never been human before, and they're not having the best time, figuring it out. And some are understanding that something's different, but they don't understand 100%. And so I definitely would have been dead back then, if I had made it, if I'd become famous. I saw this interview with Chapel Rowan where she said that, the price of fame in my experience, the sellout, people, she's like, she's like, if you look at them, they're drugged up, they don't live in reality, she was just, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but it was just a really incredible interview, and everything she said made so much sense. And I was like, I know exactly what she's saying. And so that's why I feel like, Elton John was like, he told her again in so many words, like, I was really pulled, to reach out to you. And at one point he literally compared her to him and said, like, I saw so much of myself in you. And I feel like basically he said to her, like, you're me of this generation, and whatever I can do to help you, he's like, you're a magical creature and such a gifted artist. And he's like, I want to support you in any way I can. And it's really powerful. And she just canceled a few shows, for her wellness. And that's not something that has ever been revered. It was like, the show must go on. So here, take another pill, drink another drink, the show must go on. There are many times, we'll probably see it. I just saw that Shailene Woodley, speaking of, oh, I'm so excited to see her play Janis Joplin. Also, I am so excited for Practical Magic 2. Holy shitballs. Oh my gosh. I'm like, there's so much magic happening. That's what I'm saying. People want the magic. They don't want wars. They don't want this, bullshit. We want to help each other. We want to feed each other. Doctors Without Borders, they're like, I don't fucking care. Like, I didn't become a doctor for the money. Some people are geniuses and they realize, like, yeah, like, look at how much money I can make being a doctor. Look at how much money I can make being an artist. But you're going to sell yourself out and put your name on something, even though it's a shitty fucking product and it's going to, do harm to other people, but you're going to put your name on it. I watched that. As I love Paris Hilton, and I know that, she may not, I don't know where she's at now with all that, but now having children, I'm pretty sure she probably does care more, about the environment. But there was a time where it was like, I remember I was, being a thrifter and a secondhand shopper, you see some really fucked up shit, and you'll pick up like a back scratcher and you're like, it's some plastic piece of shit, and you're like, Paris Hilton endorsed. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying, and it's like, they endorsed this fucking back scratcher. You know what I mean? And you're like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, it's kind of weird. You're like, what the fuck? But it was a normal thing. They started doing that. It actually started happening with, I think Vidal Sassoon was another one that started doing that. They started doing it in the 60s and the 70s. They may have done it before, but I know in the 70s it was like a really big deal. Like, Hugo Boss and, like, I can go on and on. There's so many brands that started doing that, and they're like, branding, and why have a suitcase when you can have a Gloria Vanderbilt suitcase? I remember that was all the rage back then. So it's just, now people are more conscious, and that's the whole thing, is like, evolution and being woke is just being conscious. You're just conscious. You're not just allowing other people to make decisions for you anymore. You're not just saying, oh, well, so and so said it's okay, so we're going to do this. And it's like, okay, well, if so and so said to go and murder your friend and throw him off the fucking bridge, would you do it? It's like, I had to make a stand with my family, with my friends and people from my past, because I was like, no, I'm not going to stand by anymore and say that's okay. I'm not going to say, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do it. Love you. Absolutely. With everything I am. But no. Because I will always stand for justice, especially right now. It's Libra season. We're just a few days away from the new moon in Libra. We're having the solar eclipse, and then we'll still be in the shadow of the shadow, right? We'll still be in the shadow of the eclipse energy. Right now, we're still in it. But even with that, it's like, I've been trying to keep my distance from people because I'm in such a happy, joyful place, and I want to stay in this happy, joyful place. And I don't want to, my happiness is my own. It's my own. And I provide it. I decide, you know. And the people, places, and things that I've hitched my wagons to, everything has aligned perfectly to be where it is now. And I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that very much. So, earlier today, before I started this video, I was playing Christmas music and making this really awesome treat and excited, to bake it tomorrow and just enjoying life. Like really, really enjoying life. Because everything outside of me is happening exactly as it's meant to be. And I know that. And I feel that. And I used to send fear and worry back out into the universe. Oh, I hope they're going to be okay. Oh, I hope this country. Oh, spirit, blah, blah. You know what? Instead, I just say my prayers every day. I send good energy out into the universe. And everything will work itself out. These wars and these things that are happening are old programming and old paradigms and old dimensional energies and things that must work themselves through and out. That's the only way to go. And the rest of us who are blessed and privileged to not be in a war zone or be in a catastrophe zone or anything like that, that is when we hold the highest vibration for those who cannot. Because even if you're in the highest vibration, losing someone you love to a catastrophe or a war is unexplainable. It's a pain and a sorrow and an anguish that is so personal to each individual. So all we can do right now is hold the light for them when they can't. And then when they heal that, they'll do the same for us. And that's how we work as a world international community. That's how we create new earth. That's how we really truly understand that we are one. Because no matter what happens to me, will come around and happen to you. We all die, which means we will all lose the people we love. We never know who's going to go first or what's going to happen because each soul has their own journey. Each soul has their own place in a soul contract somewhere. Soul contracts don't always have to stay the same either. You can tear up an old soul contract. You can cut ties and say, I no longer want to be a part of this with this person. And if they're meant to come back around, they will. Spirit will bring them back around, and in a week, a day, a year, 10 years. And if it feels good at the time, you'll say yes, or you'll continue to pass it on by because you're still not at the same level of consciousness. So, with that being said, thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. Thank you for holding the vibration high when you can. And when you're feeling low, really feel it. Work through it. Love yourself. Pick up your inner child. Put them on your lap. Give them hugs. Whatever you didn't receive as a child, give that to yourself now. That is how you heal. That is where you pull the root out and you realize that fear is an illusion. The past is over. They want to keep us in a spiral. And we are saying, no thank you. And we must start somewhere. And lest we forget that it was only, 100+ years ago? I have to research the suffragette because I don't remember the years. I want to say, it was ongoing forever, but I don't remember, and I should. See, as a woman, I feel like I should know in this incarnation as a divine feminine. I feel like I should know that, right? I should know the day. I saw the movie too. You think I'd remember, but I don't. But those women fought and gave their lives so that we could vote. It was only 100 years ago that we couldn't even vote. It's about time that we at least try to see what it's like. Especially, what are people afraid of? You know what I love the most about Kamala? Is that she doesn't have kids. I don't have kids either, but that doesn't make me an awesome fucking mentor and parental figure. And I love that she is a parental figure to boys and a very loving, supportive husband who's a divine masculine represented, right? Like, it's like, that's like the perfect balance for our first lady. Our first lady president, I'm saying, right? First lady is you know what I mean, but he's like, I'm happy to be first gentleman or whatever they're calling the title. But she'll be Madam President because we need it. Please vote. Because we need it. Please register to vote. Please vote. It's imperative if you live in the United States. I thought what Chappell said about Kaylee, I'm not sure in which respect she was speaking, but they're both her, right? So we're seeing that duality a lot right now, especially with the Joker and Arthur, and with Lee and Harley Quinn. There's so many things where we're seeing this duality of the light and the shadow. And I mean, I didn't even think about that until just this moment too, by the way. That's amazing. I'm really excited to see it. I watched a trailer today and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to see it because the Joker was so good. I loved it so much. I think Joaquin Phoenix was born to play the Joker. And this version of the Joker is like magical. Because that is how villains are made, right? But is he really a villain, or is he somebody who's fighting against the system and saying like, yeah, I mean, it gets gross and stuff, right? Like, but it's also, but isn't that what they're trying to show us about humanity? We must love our shadow as much as we love our light. And revenge is not a healthy emotion, because all it does, because in the end, when you come back to the higher self of consciousness, is realizing that you just, murdered a version of yourself. I mean, to me, a true monster is someone who kills without any remorse at all, because then they don't value life. And I don't trust somebody who does not value life. And if you are not concerned about feeding everyone in the world, then you don't value life. And we need people in place and in office that value every single life on the planet. And those that don't, well, I do believe in war crimes and criminals, then yes. But I don't believe in the prison systems that we've had. I feel like that it would have to, be like a very beautiful form of therapy. Where there are people who can take a pit bull of a human being, and I love pit bulls, don't get me wrong. They're the sweetest, most loved of their babies, right? But when they're trained to be killers, it's not their fault, right? They're the monsters that they make them. And it's the same. It's like when someone has that much hate and disdain and no love for all life, that comes from somewhere. And I know that we've had all these versions of the bad seed and all that, but I don't believe there is such a thing. Maybe they were planted here like star seeds were planted, right? Like I'm a star seed. I was planted here as an angelic light force to be on this planet to help everyone during this massive transition. I will have some piece of legacy here somehow, some way. But also, so will they. Love him or hate him, we needed Trump. We needed to show, we needed, we needed Hitler, as gross as that is. As gross as that is. But they were the beginning of the end. Because there were so many before them that did the same disgusting, torturous, trafficking, raping, awful, and we're just like, no fucking more. No more. So fight for what you believe in. And when Kaylee said that she wasn't endorsing one or the other, but she was voting for Kamala, I knew exactly what she meant. it's like Taylor's still playing out her like little like I don't dress for friends. I don't, I dress for revenge. Like she's still in that, and that's her role right now. I'm not going to take that away from her. She's a leader. She's fucking Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman's Island right now. You know what I mean? Like she was brought here for a fucking purpose to bring the divine feminine energy back in. That's why this is happening. Because we're saying stop murdering our children for your fucking progress, what you call progress. Stop murdering our family members, our animals for food because you want to be a consumption machine every day. Because you want to stuff your face with animals, not realizing that, what are you doing to your body? We're just bringing the scales back in, the Libra energy. That's why it's happening this way. We're just bringing it back into focus. That life matters. All life matters. So remember that. And it won't be the Hunger Games because we won't allow that to happen. What we see before us is disgusting and foul, and it's the Hunger Games we've been watching our whole lives. So what are you going to stand up for? What do you believe in? I told you, once I had this conversation with someone recently about Tibet. I was like, all right, I feel like I've been asking Spirit to bring me some type of charity or some type of, something that I can really get behind, I do love my country. I am an American, but I have been fighting for this country for a long time, helping with recycling, helping people to see, this and that, and to, blah, blah, blah. I've been doing my part to live tiny, live small. But now I want to go bigger. And I want to bring the spirituality balance back into the planet as well. We need those lights, those beacons to shine bright from those hills, from those mountains, from those beaches, from those cities. Just to bring the balance back in. And that is our mission, my friends. That is our mission. So do what you love. I was dancing around here listening to Christmas music and making, food. And I was doing like this really funny dance that made me think of Elaine from Seinfeld, except for mine was a more fluid version of that. But I was like laughing my ass out because I'm like, I don't know what dance this is. I'm like, but I'm having a really good time and I love myself and I love my own company and I love my house and I'm so blessed. And the more I say that, the more it is, because I accept it for what it is. And I urge you to do the same. Accept life for what it is and not what you want it to be in a way that is not healthy for you. And the only way to find out what's healthy for you is to go and live in now, if you're in a happy, joyful relationship or, if things are good, that's fine. But I urge you to take more time to yourself. And if you're living in a situation where you're just not happy, then find a place that you will be happy. Find a place that you can lay your head every night. Not just some nights, but a place where you can hang your head every night. Unless, there are some spiritual leaders out there that you're meant to move around. You're meant to bring your light around to other places. Like if you get the bug, you get the itch, and you're like, I gotta move again. You're supposed to. Don't deny that. I denied that in a lot of times in my life, and then I just got back up and started doing it again. And when I tell people my resume, I can tell it makes them uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, and I think, some people, I try to be funny, because I'll be like, oh yeah, I've moved, 30 plus times and lived in 5 states. And I was like, my mom used to joke that I was running from the law, ha ha ha, but some people think it's funny and they totally get it. And some people I see, I'm like, ha 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 ha, like, they don't really know. And I'm like, it's okay, man. I'm like, I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. I don't need to be for everybody. I don't need to be loved. I love myself. I really do. And I love this journey. And I pray I have many, many moons ahead of me. But if not, man, I've had a fucking great life all the way around. Even in the darkest days when I was like, yeah, well, I just want to die today. Well, that's good because you know what? It brought me to who I am today. And I wouldn't trade a thing. It was all meant to be. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Do not be afraid to go after your dreams. You'll know. You will know. Just take one step in front of the other and just bite by bite, minute by minute, second by second sometimes. Breathe in and out. Stretch your body, go for a walk, take good care of yourself, eat some fresh food, but also treat yourself to the things that you love and see how your body responds to it. If your body doesn't like it, listen. My body doesn't like certain things, and I'll have it in small increments. I'm okay, but if I eat too much and I get a bellyache, that's on nobody but me. And then I apologize to my avatar, and I'm like, I'm so sorry I put so much pressure on you, you know? That's a lot. My avatar deserves better, just like your avatar deserves better. Also, I had my eyes closed most of that, and I just opened my eyes, and it was 1:10:27. So, interesting. Oh, I think that's 11. Oh, right. So, for all of you witches, healers, deep down believers in magic, you angels, light workers, soul warriors, wayward warriors, way showers, whatever terminology you want to use, light beings, having a human experience, you're not alone. I love you. Do what makes you happy. Truly happy, giddy, bubbly, dancing around the house by yourself. That is what I wish for you. For all of us. On this planet and beyond, into the universe, I wish pure bliss of love and happiness and peace and good health and abundance, joy, laughter, compassion, empathy, understanding, trust, hope. Above all, hope and love. Because everything else falls into place, the abundance, all of that. If you're doing what you love, if you're following your dreams, everything falls in line. Because then you'll bump into the other people that are also following their dreams. Do you know what I watch almost every single day? The Hallmark Channel. Now it's gone Hallmark Plus. I was upset at first that they bumped it up $2, but then I thought, no, why do I? I'm like, it's such a small price to pay $8 a month to watch. I watch it almost every day, whether it's their shows or their movies, and it keeps me in such a high vibration. I learn a lot about relationships, about families, about what I want, what I don't want, and why I align with this and why I don't align with that, and why that's okay. You know, sure, they're feel good, you know, whatever, but you know, I saw this great interview with Nicole Kidman, and they asked her why this comedy now, why this, you know, movie that she just put out, I don't know the name of it, and she said, you know, well, I just did a lot of heavy movies or a lot of heavy shows like back to back, and she's like, and I really enjoyed it, but she's like, now I need something a little lighter, something a little, you know, more fresh. And then she spoke about Practical Magic too, and I was like, oh, it's so perfect. It's so perfect because they all, I think they're all still alive. I mean, as far as I know, Diane Weiss, Stockard Channing, like, I mean, bring them all back. You know what I mean? Like, bring back as many as you can. I mean, I was just thinking about Downton Abbey, and I thought, oh, I'm like Maggie Smith, you know, like, so I've been like, I dedicate this episode to her too. I'm like, I feel like I will forever, like, I mean, I know she's with us in spirit, but man, I can't even imagine how cool it was to work with her and know her, and such a great experience. What a blessing for all of those people. So many artists like that, you know, where people are so blessed and they know it too. They're like, wow, how blessed are we? I'm like that with Witches of Eastwick. I'm like, fucking Witches of Eastwick, man, bring that back. You know, maybe, I mean, I don't know Jack Nicholson. I don't know where he's at, you know, because I know he's had a lot of trials and tribulations in his life in his later years. So I don't know, but I know, as far as I know, I mean, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Cher are still fucking awesome. And it would be so cool to see them revive their roles. But anyway, you know, like, those are the kind of things that it's like, if you're going to do a sequel or you're going to do like a follow-up film, you know, they did that with, what's that one they just did with Hocus Pocus, right? Like, I didn't watch the newer one, So you'll have to tell me if you guys like it. Tell me below. But I mean, that's the way to go. Like those are so great, and because those actors only get better. You know, can you imagine Witches of Eastwick now? Oh my gosh, it would be so good. It would be so good. It would be so good. You know who'd be really good in there with them? Is oh gosh, the mom from E.T. I love her so much. She's another one that I used to see all the time around LA and waited on her, and she's just so sweet and so generous. Stone, what's her name? Anyway, she was in Cujo as well, and I mean she's done a gazillion things, but anyway, there's just a lot of magic, you know. Hollywood is magic and movies are magic, but it's not just Hollywood. It's like we're seeing, like, you know, all these different companies and networks and channels, and now it's just everywhere. You know, people are seeing like they don't have to do this job or that job. You know, I saw something recently where this YouTuber, she just finally monetized, and she's like, I don't know what I was waiting for. She didn't want to, and then she did, and she made like a ridiculous amount of money. She had like 20,000 subscribers, and she made like a ridiculous amount of money in like the first month for her. You know, I get what she means. Like to someone who doesn't make that much, that, you know, I don't know how much it was. I get the feeling it was like maybe thousands, like 2 or 3 thousand. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? She's like, that's more than I make in my day job, you know? So there's something really powerful about that. And she said to all people over 50, she's like, this is when we need you. You know, I'm 52, about to be 53 in December, you know, and basically they were like, this is where, you know, put your wisdom out there. Like, you know, the young people need us. And it was really powerful. So there's just a lot that's happening. And I'm feeling that myself. Like I'm getting the vibe that like once it's time, you know, things will monetize, whether on here or the magical medium or both or Baba, I don't know. Um, but Bubba's been going kind of slow. But you know, 3 channels is hard to manage, and you know, Spirit has kind of kept me in the dark with all these tricks and things that I could have been doing to like get me back into the algorithm. So I definitely feel like they've been holding me back, which if that's what the way it's supposed to be, then that's the way it's supposed to be. And maybe, you know, they're I'll just like have a bang overnight kind of thing, or it'll just be like to a point where, you know, whatever. But there's too much inside of me that I know needs to like be put out into the world, from my stories to my writings to my music to my voice in general. And so you know, stay tuned, because it's like it's exciting, and I feel really blessed to be a part of it. And I keep saying this because it's true, but I, you know, there was a time where I knew it. I was like, something's going to happen in my 50s. I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm like, but I just feel like that's when I'm going to like make my money or make my, you know, whatever. And so it's very interesting because I've held true to who I am as much as possible anyway, when I could. And it hasn't been easy. And I've struggled and I've suffered, and, you know, but now I'm on the other side of it. And now, you know, now, as Carrie Bradshaw once said, you know, now is time to buy the drinks, right? Like, you know, there's a time where you need people to buy you the drinks. And then there's the time where you're like, no, it's time for me to buy the drinks. And I feel like that's what's happening now, is I put my wisdom out into the universe, and for those who need it when they need it. So I love you all so much. Thank you for listening. And until next time, always, please take care of yourselves and each other. I love you, and Spirit loves you. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Or good night. Or good morning.